Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to a just kind of an impromptu live stream that I've got going on. What's up, Las Cruces and El Green Machine, and the others who are watching right now. This was something I had mentioned it on Wednesday night, and had said, "Hey, I was going to do this." So I wanted to go ahead and so I just wanted to go ahead and share. I'm not going to stay on very long, but I wanted to share about this cool acquisition that I made last weekend, and have started on this new journey within collecting. What's up, Carlos DLR? Good to see you as well. Glad that y'all are hanging out with me for just a few minutes here. So I'm going to be talking about my first acquisition for a piece of original comic book art. Um, this is something that I've been thinking about for a few months now, but I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on because, as you know, I started a new job a couple weeks ago, and I have this office space and wanted to, it's a little bit more of an agency feel there. So I didn't want to have comic books hanging on the wall. I took a couple of prints up there that I had and looked at those on the walls and got the opinion of a coworker and decided that, that was a little bit that wasn't quite the right that wasn't the right quite the right the fit for it. But I kept thinking, because I said, I love collecting comic books, and the folks at this new job, they knew about the YouTube channel and the comic books, and like that was a big part of what made them say, hey, we really want this individual to come and work here, because they knew about the YouTube channel and they knew about, all the video experience. I mean, the job is video production, but I yeah, just after thinking about it, and after I'd had some really good conversations with with some other collectors about it, I decided to go ahead and make the jump into original art. And so I'm going to reveal the piece in just a second here. But like I was saying, so what I know about original art is basically that these are one of one pieces where it's the original production artwork that's done by the artist and or inker, and then it's submitted to the comic publisher. They use that to make all the copies for print off of, and then these pieces of original art a lot of times are left with the artist and they're able to sell them. So this whole secondary market, like this niche side of comic book collecting, has emerged, where at, conventions and even some local comic shops, you can go in and you can buy a page. It's an 11 by 17 page, and it is the piece of original art that was used for the production of a comic book. And so, I had a chance to talk to some people who know way more than I do about collecting art. Specifically, among them is Southern Comic Geek. Y'all have seen him here on the channel, and we've talked about it. We've messaged about it, and I had just kind of picked his brain a little bit. He has a prolific collection already, and he's been doing it for years. But just something about the idea of, like, I've always enjoyed signatures on my comic books from the people who created it. So it was kind of an in some ways a natural evolution for me to look at, well, what about the actual piece of production art? Now, I'm, like most collectors, financially, I'm not really in a position to drop that kind of money on these types of pieces, because while, we spend $5, $6 on an individual comic book, for us, sometimes, 50, 75, $100 is a lot of money to spend on one single comic book. So the idea of collectible pieces that are in the hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars worth of purchase price and expense, and then you gotta care for the thing. That was something where I said, man, I don't know if I'm ready to get down and or get into that. Like I see El Green Machine is dropping here that, about it being a rabbit hole, and that, if he doesn't know if he could do it, I didn't know if I could do it. And but I decided, the catalyst for me was starting this new job and saying, hey, I want to decorate my office. I want to make it personal, but I want to do something more than having comics or prints on the walls. And the idea of kind of a gallery feel to my office, within the suite, was that I said, I want to kind of have a gallery feel to display some pieces of original art, of original comic art, because they make great conversation pieces. They're beautiful to look at. And I need that kind of creative inspiration for this job because I'll be doing a lot of editing and post production in my office. And I said I wanted something on the wall that was going to stimulate me and give me creative inspiration, but was also not, going to fit within the type of work environment that this is. It is a little bit more professional, a little bit more conservative than my previous job. So that all kind of mixed together was what made me decide to pull the trigger. Why original art? Well, because number one, I was interested in it. I was very interested in the idea of having a piece of art that artist had actually like drawn and worked on and put together themselves, and that had been inked. This piece of paper that had gone through all this part of the production process, and then had been sold and moved around, and people had that had just been on this journey, and that it was a one of one. The idea that this was the only piece that was out there that was like this. Um, Number two, for me, this was an extension of comic collecting. I've been a comic collector for quite some time now, so and I think for a lot of people that maybe collect original art, that's where it starts, because you love comic books, you love reading them and admiring the art. Then you start to collect them. Then you start to look for different pieces that speak to you in certain ways. And for me, loving signed books as much as I do, this was it was a small leap. It was just preparing myself and saying, okay, you're going to have to spend less money on comics, so and build this collection that you want to build. Um, and like I said, the catalyst for it was the new office and needing to put stuff on the walls, but not really having anything that fit or was appropriate for it. So I said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it. So my process for it was I began to ask around. I joined a website that Southern Comic Geek had suggested to me, called comicartfans.com. I think that's what it is. Let me double check it before I tell you for sure. Um, yeah, comicartfans.com. I'll put that in the video description below afterward. But comicartfans.com, massive online marketplace for original comic art. So if you're looking for original comic art, if you're interested in that at all, I would invite you to go ahead and create a free account and check it out and see what you think of it, because I didn't know a lot about it, and I still don't know a lot about it. But I said, the big thing I do on this channel is I share about the hobby with my fellow fans. So I'm learning this too. And I'm not anything. I just want to share with you my experience. So maybe for some of you, you say, okay, well, if you were thinking about it or at all interested in it, hey, this might make a cool little 20-minute watch to see if it's something you want to look into. And if nothing else, if you create a free account on comicartfans.com, then you might browse through and have some fun, search up and see if there's any books, any book art that you're interested in that's on there. So I joined it, I created an account, and I started browsing, looking around. There are some pieces on there that I'm interested in. Most of them are a little bit pricey for where I'm at, because what I decided on was, for this display in my office, I wanted to get between 4 and 6 pieces of original comic art, that I could get professionally framed and mounted and matted, um, behind museum level glass, with UV protection and everything, that I could put up for display. And the parameters I set for myself was that, okay, so the framing for each of these is going to, be a little bit pricey. So I said, I only want to spend between $100 and $250 per piece of art, which, if you're familiar with original comic art, there's there's not many. I mean, there's deals out there, but a lot of these pieces of art, like the really nice splash pages or especially cover art, they break $1,000 and they speed right by it. So I was a little bit intimidated by that, but then as I looked around, I realized, hey, for some of my favorite artists, and for some of my favorite titles, yeah, they're actually within reach. There's actually some that are within that price range. So and then the piece that I found, the first one that I got, was actually in that price range because it's from a book that was mass produced in the 90s. Lots of copies of it out there. The book itself is like a $3 book. It is a key book, key, because I think everything's a key nowadays. But it's a key book, yeah. But it's it's not like something that everybody's out there hunting for. It's not an issue of Amazing Spider-Man or Batman or Detective Comics. And if you're interested in starting in this, that might be something to look, is go to wherever you can get to where there's original art. And I'm going to give some ideas for how I got to where I purchased this. Um, there's get out there and look and see, because there may be some pieces that are a little bit less expensive. But so the one that I got, so yeah, so my process, I set my parameters for pricing. I said between 100 and 250 per piece. I said I want to get pieces that speak to me and that have something to do with some of my favorite characters. So it kind of, so I can speak passionately and intelligently about the pieces, because there'll also be conversation pieces in my office, and I anticipate a lot of conversation happening around them. Um, and then I said, I'm going to look at these places. I said I will look at comicartfans.com. Okay, that's a great place to look, as I've said. The second place is to find the websites or deviant art pages, or whatever type of online presence there is for your favorite artists. And you may not be able to afford any of them. I know one of my favorite artists, after we got a chance to meet him and visit with him, was John Boy Myers. I can't afford anything he has on his website. It's all $1,000 plus, and yeah, so I just had to say, I'm not going to, maybe I'll run into him at a convention again and I can look at buying one, but I can't afford his artwork right now. So I said, okay, I'm not, won't be able to do that. Jim Lee. Jim Lee is my favorite comic artist of all time. I'd love to own a piece of original art done by Jim Lee, but we're talking $10,000 plus for a piece of his original art. He charges $1,000 plus just for a commissioned, like a sketch of a character. So it's just not a realistic option for me. So comicartfans.com was my first place I started looking. Second place was I started looking at websites for my favorite artists to deal with them directly, because a lot of times dealing with the artist directly, if they're trying to sell some pieces, they may do a deal. They may cut some kind of deal, just like with comic books. So there's a couple of other of my favorite artists that I went to the websites, and one of them, he actually has all kinds of pieces of art, actual production art from his runs on quite a few big DC books in the 90s, and they're all under $200. And I said, okay, I'm definitely going to come back and purchase from him. The third place I would suggest you to look is at conventions, because if there are artists appearing at local comic conventions for you, that's a great place to look, because you're there if you have cash in hand and you get to strike up a conversation. I've had artists give me all kinds of discounts and give me freebies as well for different stuff. So I know that getting into original art, I'm definitely going to be looking at and making purchases at local conventions. But the fourth place that I would suggest is your local comic shop, if you have one. So I looked at multiple comic shops in the greater Houston area. Very few, if any, had original art for sale, but I did find one that had several pieces. So I'll go ahead and share what it is because I know a couple of you have dropped off. So what I ended up picking up was the New Titans number or annual number 7, which was the 1991 annual, and that crossover was the Armageddon 2001. It's like storyline crossover, and so the piece that I picked up was page number 32 uh, from that from that series. So I'm gonna see if I can get it here so you can see it. But yeah, there you go. What's up, Louis V? Good to see you. So as I told y'all as I teased on Wednesday, there is Nightwing down there in the corner, and it's the rest of the Team Titans team or the New Titans team. Here's Tara, who's another fun character that I've always enjoyed. And so here's the deal with it. This piece, like I said, I would share numbers. So the retail price for this piece was $175. At the time that I went into this local comic shop, they were having a big sale, and so original art they only gave me 10% off. But hey, at $175, that's 1750 off. So I ended up paying $155, which was within my budget, for this piece of original art. So this is from the 1991 annual for the New Titans, which was it was like a continuation of the New Teen Titans and Tales of the New Teen Titans. They kept changing the title of that series. So this is known as annual number 7, even though it was only the second annual for this particular title. But it's by Tom Grindberg. He was the artist, and then there was a couple different inkers on it as well. But yeah, this is the piece, and like I said, I paid 155 for it, and yeah, I mean, I was just really jazzed to get it. I'll show it again here so you can see it. It's a lot, it's clean artwork. There's, there's nothing super stylized about it, but it is a piece of original art. It is the first one that I got. So it's always going to be special now because of that. And it's something that, that I'll, it's one of those neat pieces that I connected to because I've always been a Teen Titans fan. I've always been a Nightwing fan. And lo and behold, they had, it was a page from a Teen Titans book, and it had Nightwing on it, albeit very small in the in the corner, running away from camera. So it's a cool piece to pick up. And the thing that was encouraging to me about it was that there was quite a few pieces that were under $200 for sale at this particular shop. So I didn't feel quite so bad, because even when I talked to the clerk who was working there, and I said, "Hey, I'm interested in a piece of art, but before they were way up on a wall, and I said, before you get out a ladder and climb up and get one down for me, understand my budget maxes out at $250. I only have this much to pick up, to spend per piece." Because I thought about, well, maybe if there's a couple that are $100 or under, maybe I could get two. But they got several down. There was one that they brought down. It was from Firestorm, one of the original Firestorm run, and it was $550. And I felt so bad because the little guy, he went up on the ladder and he got it and he brought it down, and I was like, whoa, and so then me and the other one told him, I said, look, if you get up there and you see that it's over $250, there's no way, I can't buy that. It's not even that I don't want to, it's that I can't buy that. So don't bring it down. But they brought down 3 pieces. They were really cool about it. And I said, yeah, and I ended up going ahead and purchasing one of them because I really like that piece and I wanted to get started on my original art journey. So the display that I'm going to finish up with the display, the plan. um, I'm going to go ahead and display, like, I'm purchasing these original art pieces. And this is something, maybe a piece of advice I would offer. Think about what you're going to, what's up, Cody? Good to see you hanging out. And Louis V, Carl CSR, all good to see all of you hanging out here in the chat. Um, but one thing I would offer is know what you're going to do with the original art before you purchase it, because that helped me make it helped me make a lot of decisions about this purchase, because this is a bigger purchase, and these are, for most of us, these are going to be bigger purchases that we make. So you want to make them wise purchases. And the decision, and the thing that I said was, okay, I know that I'm going to be displaying. Number one, I know I'm going to be displaying these pieces. So I don't want them to be super expensive. I don't know that I want to have $1,000 piece of original art hanging on the wall of my office. I don't think any of my coworkers would ever take it or anything. That's definitely not going to happen. But, having that, I mean, I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable. I think it would freak me out knowing I had $1,000 piece of original art hanging there, just there. So I knew that I knew by displaying it in my office, and not even here at the house, but or in the studio, but at the office, I knew, okay, um, I'm going to keep the prices relatively low. Number two, I knew that I was going to be framing the pieces. I'd gotten a couple of custom frames done by Hobby Lobby, and some of you may laugh, but Hobby Lobby actually, there's a lady at Hobby Lobby that's done all the custom framing for us, and she always does a fantastic job. And when I went to go see her today and showed her this piece and got the quote for doing the framing, um, she did a great job of helping me come up with colors, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 4 to 6 pieces, and each one of them will have a very bold um, primary color as part of the mat, like half of the mat. The other half will be black, and it'll be in a black metal frame. But then there'll be a pop of color around the piece of original art to kind of really draw the eye in to the piece of art. So like this one will have it's a bright yellow border around it to kind of match the masthead of the actual comic. But I'm not going to put a nameplate. I'm not going to put the cover of the comic next to it. I'm just going to I'm not even going to have it listed on there what it is. I'm just going to have it with that border and have the piece of art, and then I'll know physically what it is. Maybe I'll have a label on the back of it. Um, but then yeah, each piece that I get will be a different color. So like I'm going to buy a piece of original art from Nightwing, so that'll be a blue. A piece of original art from Robin, so that'll be red. And then, just so on and so forth. There'll be a different pop of color. I don't have like a blown up image of it. I have this very small scan that she gave me that's a mock up, but I'll show it to y'all when it's going to be a few weeks before it's finished, because they had to order the supplies. But yeah, that's the plan for the display, is to have between 4 and 6 pieces of original art in the new office. And I think it's really going to look nice. I think it's going to look really, really classy when it's done. And because I told her I really wanted an art gallery feel as people come into the office and hang out, and or come in to review video work that I'm doing. I just wanted something that was, classy, but still showed off my love of comic books and sequential art. So those are just, some thoughts that I wanted to share with y'all. I want to thank y'all for each um, I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. Yeah, El Green says also a good investment in yours and yours family future. Um, you know, Original art, I don't know enough about it to know what kind of an investment it is. It might well be, but I do know one thing I'll say is that the primary reason for doing this was not investment. It was for display, for decoration. So I'm kind of writing it off that way, because the framing, I'll go ahead and share this with y'all. The custom framing with museum glass over it that doesn't cause reflections and doesn't It just looks so clean. Music with museum level glass, custom framing, the matting, all that. It's going to be $130 for this piece, which means it's going to be $130 per piece just for the custom matting and framing and and the glass that they're putting on it, because the glass itself was an extra $20. But again, I made the decision that I wanted it to be very, very clean and have a very like art gallery feel to it. And so I was willing to pay a little bit more. So, keep in mind that I'm spending almost as much on the framing job for this piece of art as I am for the art itself. And but again, that's an intentional thing. That's the choice I'm making for display, because I know that over the next few years, as I do my job, as I work here, um, it's going to be something that that kind of keeps me going and keeps me creative and motivated. So, again, a lot of thought went into this because I've been thinking about it for a little while, but a lot of it yeah, a lot of thought went into it. Yeah, I see a couple of you asking about showing the art again. Yeah, I'll go ahead and show it one more time. So this is page 32 from the New Titans annual number 7, which was the 1991 annual crossover, and this is page number 32. So that's it right there. It's got Tara across the top. She is fighting some of the villains, the Armageddon 2001 villains. And then at the bottom, you see Nightwing and several other members of the Team Titan, or of the New Titans, racing off into the distance. So yeah, El Green, I think for sure, for sure. Thanks, Future Batman, for popping in and saying hi and hanging with us. Um, but let's see real quick. Yeah, yeah. So that's what that was the piece of art. And El Green, yeah. I mean, in 10 to 25 years, it may be an investment piece for sure. And then also, yeah, right now it's definitely a career thing. But because they they were excited about the idea that I'm into comic books, and had a YouTube channel that has grown to the level that this one has, even though it's really, really small. But there was kind of an expectation that I would have something comic related on the walls. But I think that original art, I think it's going to be the perfect thing to put up there and to showcase my personality, but also a level of class and a level of sophistication that fits there. So I'm looking forward to sharing. I'll do a couple more of these little videos from time to time to share progress, and each new piece. I will go ahead and create a video for it, because it looks like at least a few people enjoyed hanging out here tonight. So thanks again for being here, and I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me for a couple minutes. If you're watching this on the rewind, yeah, make sure and consider liking the video and subbing up the channel, because it will yeah, I think it'll be a cool little kind of side thing that I do. So y'all take care, have a great night, and I will see you later.